7 o'clock. Many thanks for everybody that's joined the webinar. It's really appreciated. It really is. We've had such a good response to this webinar that I think we'll probably make this a regular thing on different subjects and different topics. Just to be able to tell you what this is about. So this is not an in-depth presentation on particular products. It's a look at some products. It's designed to show you who we are as a distributor. And it's a look at products, how they integrate together. So, you know, you can do so much more if you have knowledge of products than just being able to fit bells and sounders and strobe lights, yeah. So I hope this will open your eyes up to, you know, different types of integration using different products. And you know, I guess that we are, you know, quite experts in all the products that you're going to see. So Kentech integrated suppression solution. I think we're pretty much ready to kick off. We've got 30 participants, which is great. So I will kick off. There is a question and answer session at the end. It's quite impossible for me to answer questions via the chat because I'm obviously doing the presentation. Yeah. So if we can wait till the end. If you want to send a question in on the chat, we can go through those later. And if you want to unmute yourself at the end, we can take any questions or just email me or WhatsApp me. It's quite easy. Yeah. Okay, so introduction to FAST. Fire and Security Technology, that's what FAST stands for, yeah. We also trade under the name of All Fire International, but Fire and Security Technology just added in the security element, which is a small part of our business as well, yeah. So our agenda today is an introduction to FAST and then go through the agenda one by one so that you can actually see specific products and how they work, specifically the AF-X aerosol suppression system, and then how those products actually integrate together. So this is us, Fire and Security Technology Group. And just to reiterate to everybody on the call, we're a distributor. We do not install, we are not your competition. We do not sell to the end user. We only sell to our channels that we have been dealing with, yeah? So we only sell to the trade in each of the areas that we work in, yeah? So we're not your competitor. We are a distributor of high quality products. And I like to think we're an added value distributor. So we add value to the products we sell. Yes, some products are boxes and everyone knows what they are and they just buy them, such as a bell. Other products actually need some technical input. So if you're looking at a system, maybe a Kentech system, a Vesda system, then we don't just say, here's the box, we don't know anything about it. We will train you how to design, install and maintain those products, yeah. So you won't see us on site unless we're assisting you to actually achieve something on site with your customer. Okay, so we are the added value reseller of all the products that you can see here. So you'll recognize most of them, I'm sure. Spectrex for flame detectors, Kentech for alarm panels, Vimpex, Hochiki, Statex, AF-X, AdPro. These are all high quality products that are manufactured predominantly in Europe and the USA, yeah. So these are our products, our core products. We do have a few other ones, but these are our core products that we draw from when we're putting systems together and when people are buying systems from us. So we have integration partners, and the 4 integration partners that we're going to look at today in a little bit more depth are obviously Kentech. Kentech being the manufacturer of alarm panels, fire alarm panels and peripherals. AF-X, which is probably to everybody on the call a new name in aerosol suppression. Vesda, which I'm sure everyone will know. And Vimpex, where we've taken one of their integration products and integrated it into our final system here. So we'll have a quick look at those particular partners, yeah. Kentech Electronics, which is one of our main partners here. Obviously, the core of any alarm system is the panel itself, yeah. So Kentech is a UK manufacturer. All the products are manufactured in the UK, founded in 1985. And Kentech are quite unique because what they actually do is they produce everything. So they produce the metalwork that the panel sits in. The PC boards are all loaded in the UK and tested in the UK. Firmware is actually installed, and the finished product is actually then shipped from the UK. Kentech is part of Hochiki, but they retain their kind of independence, if you like. They manufacture Hochiki products. Hochiki badge Kentech products up as Hochiki. Kentech is kind of an autonomous part of that particular organisation. So it's very well respected and being manufactured in the UK, great distribution. You know, we keep stock here in Singapore, but if we order something that we haven't actually got in stock, it takes no more than 5 or 6 days to get here. Very, very quick to transport it across, yeah. So Kentech is a key part of our core products. All the approvals, as you'd expect from around the world. So the ULs, FMs, ENs, they're all approved, Active Fire for Australia. So pretty much any approval that you need on a global basis is available for the Kentech products. And you'll see here some nice pictures of the products, grey and red products. The general convention is that the grey products are the EN products and the red products are the UL-FM products. Not quite true, because you can change the colour of most of the products, but you know, there's two distinct products that are actually complying to different codes. And you can see some of the products there, some releasing panels, the Tactis panel, which is the up to 16 loop main fire control panel. Some smaller panels, some releasing panels, and some peripherals that are used, such as the LED signs, abort switches and maintenance switches. So that's good. So we add value to these products. You know, quite recently we've had a few customers change from, you know, another type of panel. They like the Kentech panel, they like the Tactis panel. So at the moment we can't travel. If we could travel, we would travel, we would go to the country, we would sit with the customer for a day, and they would be fully conversant with how that product works. At the moment, that doesn't happen. So over the last 12 months or so, what we've been doing is we've been sending panels out, and we've been doing remote training. And as of yet, that has proved to be very successful. So as long as the panel is in the hands of the customer, then what we can do is we can link to the panel, use all the technology such as the team viewer and even Zoom to control a PC on site, that we can then go through the programming and the various setup routines for each individual panel. Some panels, there doesn't need any setup. It's very simple, yeah. So conventional panels, generally, people work it out. But for addressable panels, especially the Tactis being a new panel, as long as you've got the software, as long as you've got an internet connection, not only can we train you on it, but we can support you when you get to site and you've forgotten what to do. You know, you only need a mobile phone these days and a laptop, and we can log into your PC, have a look at what's going on, and you soon pick it up. So we add value to all these products. Kentech have a huge range of releasing panels, or what's known as coincidence panels. And we'll be taking a particular look at one of these today, where we're actually doing the integration to a small system and a large system using these releasing panels. So Kentech, one of our core businesses, we support it around the region, not only for new sales, but also for spare parts. So spare parts for existing models are quite easy, but spare parts for older models are also quite easy, or there'll be an alternative part. You know, quite recently we've had customers phone up looking for a power supply that hasn't existed for 5 years. But, you know, liaising with the tech guys at Kentech, we offer one that's pretty much the same size and will replace the one that's actually gone faulty on site after many years of service. Another integration partner is AF-X, okay, which is an aerosol-based suppression system. Okay, so we're the distribution channel for AF-X within Southeast Asia. So that's good. From our base here in Singapore, very easy to service, you know, the Southeast Asia region. When travel does come back, and before the pandemic struck, I spend probably 3 weeks out of 5 traveling around, yeah, to each country. So it's very easy to be able to make contact with people, to show people firsthand what these products look like, yeah. So who are AF-X? There's a lot of information on this screen, but they're an expert in the field of aerosol technology. Yeah, their vision, this is coming direct from their website, is that there's always going to be fires, and fires start small and become large. Yeah, and you should be able to fight the source of a fire to stop it spreading. Yeah, and that's pretty much the philosophy that we have as well. Yeah, so AF-X is actually a company that manufactures products in Europe, actually manufactured in the Netherlands. And you'll notice here, it's actually part of the Ariane group. So the Ariane group is actually who's responsible for putting most of the European Space Agency spaceships into orbit. So a lot of this technology, not only AF-X, but other products have actually been born out of space technology. You know, when you send a rocket into space, there could be a fire. You know, there could be a fire, you know, when it's in orbit. So you can't send up pressurized gas cylinders because they become part of the problem. So if you go back 30, almost 40 years, you can actually see that a lot of these space agencies were looking at alternatives. And the alternative that AF-X developed is actually used by the Ariane group when they send up spaceships. It's pretty good. Again, certification, there's a lot of certification for AF-X. And I guess the main ones are the EN and the UL certificates, which you can actually see copies of the EN and the UL certificates here. Certified by Cryo, which is a Netherlands-based certification. So it's quite acceptable throughout the world. People say, who are Cryo? Well, just look it up, see who they are. So perfectly able to be certified by Cryo under UL and an EN. So again, we have all the certification. We also have an ISO 9001, so it's actually manufactured in a controlled environment. Vimpex, not a lot of people have actually heard of Vimpex, but Vimpex is, again, a UK manufacturing. They're based in the UK and they manufacture in the UK. And they manufacture a lot of peripherals. So you'll probably notice here, this is a Banshee. Banshee is actually manufactured by Vimpex. So complete range of Banshees, of bells, strobe bells, which combine strobes and bells together. All different manners of products, you know, guards for call points, explosion proof. The list is endless. I would spend 20 slides showing you what they actually manufacture, yeah? All high quality manufactured within the UK. They also manufacture HydroSense, which is a water leak system. And you'll notice there's quite a similarity between this product and some of the Kentech products, because this is a Kentech fire alarm panel with different firmware, but using the same strategy as the fire panel. So this is Kentech fire panel technology, but for water. So again, quite a successful product for ourselves to be able to protect customers from water leak. Yeah. Today, we're going to look at a couple of products from Vimpex, which is the Firecracker. And the Firecracker system is actually, as you can see here, standalone. This is nice, you know, either a base for a detector with a voice sounder built in, wall mount, larger systems for where you have background noise, or if you've got loading docks, even larger systems, yeah. So we're going to take a look at these as we integrate them into our system as a means of being able to make an alarm systems, when it does activate, far less confusing, yeah? And we'll explain that as we go along, yeah? So the last integration partner we'll look at today is Vesda. I'm sure everybody knows what Vesda is. Vesda is an acronym for Very Early Smoke Detecting Apparatus. And we are the authorised distributor for Southeast Asia, and we have been for 10 years. And we have, I personally have 20 years experience in designing systems using Vesda. And I have to say, over 20 years of dealing with Vesda, very few people actually know what Vesda can actually do. Very few customers, very few system integrators. So we'll kind of unlock the secrets of Vesda later on in our presentation. But Vesda is an aspirating smoke detector, And VES is an acronym for Very Early Smoke Detecting Apparatus. So that's good. Okay, so you've had a look at who FAST are. You've had a look at the 4 integration partners that we'll take a specific look at today. People say to me, you know, they phone up, what is the best type of suppression system, John? What would you recommend? And I guess, you know, it's a fair question, but it all depends on the application, you know. What is the best type of suppression system, you know? And suppression systems, detection, protection, prevention, they're all different terminologies. And very few people actually know what they mean, you know. A fire detection system, is that only to detect fire? Well, what's a fire protection system? You know, we use these terms to generally cover, you know, some kind of fire system, some kind of fire alarm system, yeah. So what we do is we approach it slightly differently. So what we do is we integrate systems together and we offer these systems to people. Even if they're phoning up and they're looking for a fire system, we sit with them and we say, well, okay, what are you actually trying to achieve? So what we try to achieve is protection of their business continuity. And I would urge everybody on the call, when you sit down with a customer, they may be asking you for one of these systems, but you need to know what the implication of a fire in their premises is. Everyone will say, don't worry, we're insured, yeah? And that's a fair point, yeah? But the insurance industry actually have a little saying, yeah? Which you'll find on various websites, some as high as 80%, some as low as 50%, but 70% of businesses that have a major fire event, i.e. a fire, will cease trading within 12 months. Why? You know, the insurance money's paid up, we should be okay, good to go. No, you're not. If you have a warehouse full of equipment or stock or a manufacturing plant that's making products and it burns down, it will not be working tomorrow. And the losses, which are called consequential losses, are not covered by the insurance company. I've seen it many times. One that sticks in my mind is a cold store in Thailand. It burnt to the ground because they had no fire detection, protection, prevention methods in place. And I sat with the guys and they're now going overboard, putting everything, they put everything in that I suggested purely for the fact that insurance company paid up. They paid up within 4 months. They're building a lovely new cold store, yeah, but they're going to lose an absolute fortune because they're having to use their competitor in order to be able to service the products that they were selling. So just bear this in mind. It's not there to frighten anyone, but it's there as a fact, yeah. One size doesn't fit all. So what is the best type of suppression system? I will tell you at the end. And by the end, you should actually know what these questions mean. Okay, so you've got to listen now to find out what the best suppression system in the world is. Okay, so let's get on with it. Let's get through the next few slides. It's not a particularly long presentation, but it's one that you should be able to take something away from. So AF-X. It's just an acronym for aerosol fire extinguishant. They have been active since the end of the last century, which sounds a long time ago, but since 1999. And it's been born out of the fact that, as I mentioned earlier on, when these rockets go into space, they can catch fire. There have been many incidences of fires, and you can't put them out with gas. Well, you could, but the gas itself, being a pressurized container in space, is actually a problem. So a lot of the products have actually been developed using technology that was based around spaceships, you know, the manufacturing and the launching of spaceships. So you can see a little timeline here, and this all led to, so this was obviously products that were used within spaceships, and then they commercialized the products in 2018 and actually started to trade as the first AF-X fire blocker system. Yeah, so it's got quite a nice little history, and currently it's actually owned by the group that owns the Ariane group in Europe. So 2 product lines, quite simple: Carbon series and Nano series. Outwardly they look the same, One is made from steel housing, the other is made from stainless steel housing, which you'll understand as we go through. There is a slight more difference than that, but the housings just look slightly different. A black painted steel housing and a stainless steel housing, yeah. And you can probably see one behind me on the bench there, yeah. So what's the difference, you know? If you think of carbon as being the general workhorse of AF-X, when it actually ignites, when it's actually triggered, microscopic aerosol particles are released into the room, and using convection, it actually is drawn to the seat of the fire. It interferes with the actual fire itself and puts the fire out. It also coats the fire to stop it from actually reigniting, hence the name fire blocker. Okay, so not only does it put the fire out, but it actually will then prevent the fire from reigniting. So this is the general run-of-the-mill workhorse for pretty much the aerosol that we would design, yeah. It's great. The nano is slightly different. So nano uses very small nano-type particles, yeah? And these particles make it ideal for tackling fires where you've got, let's say, something like a lithium-ion battery storage, which is extremely hard to put out. Not only is it hard to actually extinguish, but it's hard to stop it reigniting. So that was designed and developed specifically for that type of application. As it's got a stainless steel housing, it's also suitable for offshore or marine type applications, or applications where there's a corrosive environment. So two different types of systems, yeah, both using what they call a solid band compound. It has an AF-X patent on it, but it's actually a potassium-based extinguishing compound. No water, no reduction of oxygen content. So quite a nice technology to look at, yeah. So what we've done as a distributor is we've looked at the shipping. A lot of these products come unstuck when you try to ship them to someone, yeah. So what we've done is we've shipped the units from Europe to Singapore, great, and no problem with that. And we've shipped them back out to countries within Southeast Asia. And what we found is that the carbon series, which is the workhorse of most of our projects that we do, is not classed as a dangerous good. We have the manufacturer's data sheet. We've asked TNT and FedEx, how would you class these? And they said, oh, don't worry, they're not DG. Great. The Nano is DG, as is the StatX and the Fire Pro and all the other competitors. So it just depends on your application. If your application is probably one of the 80% of applications that we come across, carbon, no problem. Bring it in, standard shipping rates apply. There's no special import regulations required for it at all. So that's good, that's great. If it's nano, then obviously there needs to be some kind of shipping company. And we found that there are named companies that will actually ship them in on your behalf. You pay for it, unfortunately, yeah. But you can get the nano in if there's a specific application that you need. Probably for marine, probably for maybe server type rooms, or probably for lithium-ion battery stores, yeah. So a lot of these systems, including AF-X, need to have some kind of calculator to be able to say what size, what model do I need, John, and how many do I need? So my answer is, I don't know. You've got to send me some information. So there are generally two types of systems. They're all electrically triggered, yeah? It doesn't matter whether you're triggering a thermally detected device being thermally triggered, or it's an electrically triggered device. They're all electrical, yeah? It just depends how you actually design the system and what is the area being covered. So let's have a look at the components. Here's our components. There's some cylindrical units, there's some larger square units, yeah, and there's two different ranges, yeah. So I need to understand what is my job, what is the opportunity that I'm looking at, yeah. And there's a lot more components. There are brackets, stainless steel brackets, signs, which everyone forgets, but you do need signs. All of the AF-X generators are very simple to connect. You connect to a connector hood So if it's an electrical system, you wire into this from your control panel and you simply plug this into the generator. Simple. If you want to test the circuit, you simply unplug from the generator and plug in a test lamp. And you do your test and all these little lights light up to say it's working, no problem. That's great. Each of the AF-X units has a specific resistance. And if that resistance goes up, it means there's something wrong with the generator. So it's pretty much a fail-safe type system. On small systems where you might be protecting, say, a switch, we would use perhaps a bimetal activator. This little bimetal switch activator will plug. So this is just a plug, plugs into the top of the generator and sits in a cupboard, sits in a switch cabinet. Very, very simple. And it will activate when it reaches 65 degrees. So if it's switch cabinets, generally speaking, you need maybe 1 or maybe 2 units within that. Thermal activator is quite easy to use, quite easy to design, and works quite easy. Yeah. So lots of components. There's even more components, some isolator switches, a few small panels allowing us to be able to connect up multiple thermal units using linear heat cable. So very, very simple, you know. And if anybody wants more information on this, we have a complete presentation on AF-X. Okay, so customer's phoned up and he's got a switch room and he's got half a dozen switches in there and he wants to protect the switches because the switches are running conveyor belts and lighting and all kinds of circuits within the building, yeah? So we need to know a little bit of information, what class of fire, obviously, you know, the size of the area being protected, length, depth, height, and whether it's going to be you know, small area, large area, whether we're going to have one unit or multiple units linked together. So here we have a very small application, and you can actually see there's a little generator in the top left-hand corner, and you can actually see there is a thermal switch actually connected to it. So very, very simple. So, you know, how would we design this system? You know, nice little switch gear here. It's got some, I don't know what it is. It's a little, looks like some PLCs in there, some power. Obviously, this is needs to be protected because it could be controlling some critical process within the factory. So we need to know what class of fire it is. So we're told that this is a class, maybe a class A fire, you know, so it's a class A fire, that's okay. So we can treat it as class A. The different classes are quite important, A, B, C, D. A and B, no issues with this. It's chemical fires, it's insulation burning, paper, wood, cloth, all those types of things, yeah. Class C would be, again, an electrical equipment that has caught fire, but is still energized. You cannot fight that fire using any aerosol. But what you can do is you can convert that fire to a class A fire by simply switching off the power to that particular switch or that group of switches or the switch room, which is common practice. And again, you've got a D class fire, which is, you know, typically things like lithium batteries, which not only burn, but are very difficult to put out. So aerosols are absolutely ideal for that type of application. Again, you can't fight a class D fire directly, but you can actually turn a class D fire into a class A fire by just switching off the power that's charging the batteries. Very simple to do, and I'll explain how you do it as we go on. So here's our very small, I guess our little example here, yeah? So what have we got? We've got a cabinet. So we do have a little calculator, which I'll show you what it looks like. So this calculator, let's make it full screen. So what I've got here is I've got a calculator, and I filled in some information here. I filled it in prior to our meeting. So, you know, this calculator can actually calculate 7 different areas, and you can run it as many times as you want. So if this was one area of 7 areas or on its own, it doesn't matter. So I just put in a room name, cabinet, switch room, whatever it is, yeah. Length, width, and height of the room. And once I enter these dimensions, that's all I have to do, okay? Now, what it will actually do is it will bring me up this little red bar down here. So under each of these fire blocker models, so you can see the C, the cylindrical ones, and the other ones which are actually the large square unit. You can actually see some figures. So let's have a look at the figures. What we're looking for is a figure close to 1. Yeah, and the reason for that is you can actually see here the very smallest unit, it would take 1.36 fire blocker CSs. But don't forget, this is a cabinet. You can't put 2 fire blockers or 2 aerosols that are thermally triggered inside the same cabinet. The reason for that is one won't do the job. So what we do is one goes off because the thermal trigger says, I've reached my temperature. What it then does is it actually quenches the fire, brings the temperature down, and then stops extinguishing. But the fire hasn't gone out because we actually need more than one. So then what happens is a fire grows again, reaches 65 degrees, the thermal trigger switch goes off on the second one, puts the fire out. But it then rekindles because there wasn't enough extinguishing with one. So when you're doing one specific area and you're using a thermal switch, you know, not a multiple units triggering, you need to be able to only put one in. So the nearest is this, 0.69. So I'm just going to enter 1 in there. So I need one of those. Obviously, I can't put 0.69 in there. And it says, great, everything's gone green. And I've got about 0.3% of that is actually going to be extra. So that's okay. Now, if you have any gaps or openings or vents in the switch, you're still okay because this design here is actually giving you the ability of a safety factor of 30%. You can alter this down. That 30% actually gives you maximum tolerable leakage area of 0.06 meters squared. So if, for instance, I got 2 small vents in the top of the switch or the side of the switch, I measure them. If they were 200 by 200, so we got 200 by 200, that's only 0.04, so we're well within. If you do have a lot of leakage and it's a larger area, then what will happen is the 30% might not work. So we can put the leakage area in meters squared here, so we can actually work out what it is, and it will then compensate by telling us how many fire blockers we need, and if we need to be able to do a second release after a certain time. So the calculator takes care of everything. Most of the jobs that we've done, most of the calculations we've done, the 30% is more than adequate, yeah. On the odd occasion, we just put in the area and it allows us to be able to calculate and just allow a little bit more extinguishment. Most areas that you're protecting are not actually empty. They've got something inside. So what we've got over on the right-hand side here is the ability to be able to put a shape in, you know, maybe it's a small motor room with you know, on a boat. So the actual engine itself takes up some space. So we can actually put the size that the engine will take up in cubic meters into the calculation, which then will reduce the number of fire blockers we need. So in the case of needing 1.36 fire blockers, I wonder how I can get away with using 1. Oh, there's a big engine in the middle. So I just put the size of the engine in, and that size of the engine is deducted from the space that I'm actually going to put the extinguishant in, and bingo, everything is okay. I can now use 1. So the calculator is very flexible, and it does allow you to put in objects that are in the room and also leakage that could occur. And if it's leakage, then it will tell you, yes, you need to be able to put more or a bigger system in, a bigger generator in, and you need to be able to put a secondary one in. So you might have a large fire blocker that initially goes off, and then you might need to top up the area after 3 or 4 minutes. So that would draw you to the fact that you need a control panel with a timer in it, i.e. a Kentech panel. Okay, so that's pretty simple. What we can also do is reduce a report, and the report just simply gives us a rundown on all the information that we put in. So we've calculated the best generator that we need. We can then select the equipment that we require. So in this case of this small example, here's a generator, a couple of brackets, thermal trigger, clip it on top, a sign on the outside of the cabinet, which is a sticker, and a sign on the inside. That's just regulations, yeah. And not only can we put this together in a few minutes, But you actually don't need to drill the cabinet because we can supply, I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a little magnet on the back there. So you assemble this on the bench, you attach it to the bracket and you stick it in using the magnets. How simple could that be? And that generally is a simple one-to-one small cabinet, small area with one thermally triggered device in it. But not all systems are like that, yeah? So this one is, and works very well. So that's great. So, you know, no problems at all. Now, with all aerosols, it's important to understand that you need to extract or clean up the area after it's discharged. So generally speaking, it will discharge and it will fill this area. It will put the fire out if there was one there. It will block the fire from starting from a 10-minute period. You've got literally 50 minutes in order to be able to get all of this, this airborne particles, which looks like smoke, out of that particular area. It's important to understand that, you know, in a switch like this, it probably won't make any difference. Open the doors, outflows the extinguishant. But in other areas, you know, maybe you need to have an extract facility and you need to be able to clean it up. The only reason for that cleanup is that within that hour following the discharge, it's airborne, it's smoke. You know, you have an extract fan and within 3 or 4 minutes, you've changed the air in the room and it's clear again. No issue. You know, very, very simple. No cleanup to do then. It's all gone out through into the air. AF-X is not poisonous. You know, it's not, doesn't damage the ozone. Yeah. So if you were in the room when it went off, hey, look, it doesn't smell that nice, you know, and it's probably going to give you a bit of a shock, all this smoke pouring out at you, but it's not going to kill you. It doesn't lower the oxygen level in the room, okay? And if you breathe it in, well, it just doesn't smell or taste that nice, but it's not going to kill you. If you don't clean it up and the particles settle, you end up with like a dust, and that dust becomes hygroscopic, which means it attracts water, so you're asking for trouble. So just a warning that we design systems, we even design the size of fan that you need. Very simple, very easy to install, yeah. Let's look at a large switch room, yeah. Total flooding, yeah. 15 by 6 by 4 meters high. I won't run the calculator, it looks like this. 15 by 6 by 4, and it's telling me I need 5 of the large fire blockers, yeah. So now I've got a large system in here, yeah. And I'll have just, you know, 0.76 over, so that's good. It doesn't really matter. A bit can leak out, yeah. So that's good. So here's my equipment, my carbon fire blocker, BM fire blocker. And obviously we need now an electrical option. So we need some panels, some detection, et cetera, yeah. So let's have a look how that would look as a system, yeah. By integrating that in to a full system using detection, using a releasing panel, using warning devices, we'll see what that actually looks like. We actually ask customers, we actually ask end users, you know, we actually ask system integrators and solution providers, you know, what is it you're trying to do? You know, you might seem obvious, we want to protect this, we want to make sure there's no fire, but they're not actually precise in what they're asking, you know. And a lot of questions actually, you know, seem the same, yeah. Do you want to detect a fire? Well, of course we do, yeah. You know, we want to protect our employees, but it all depends on what question you ask people. You know, if you actually say to someone, do you want to prevent a fire? They'll say yes to that. If you actually say, do you want to extinguish the fire if it occurs? Yes, that's what I want, yeah. So it all depends what question you actually ask to a customer. I guess question 4 is the one that we should be asking. Do you want to prevent a fire? Okay, so by integrating the products you saw earlier on, we can actually do that. So let's have a look at the standard scenario. The standard scenario would be the panel. Here's our Kentech panel. Some LED signs. I'm sure everyone's aware of what these are. Bells, inside and outside sounders, beacons. These are all to give you different stages of alarms. Here is our trigger for the AF-X. So the AF-X is there. You can see the 5 units. And usually 2 different types of detectors. Quite often I go to sites and there's 2 smoke detectors, you know, okay, that's fine. So it all depends on what question you ask. So let's assume the customer has said, I want all those things, John. I want you to give me everything, yeah? I want to try and prevent the fire. I want to extinguish it if it does happen. And obviously I want to detect it and protect it. They actually want to protect their business continuity. Yeah, that's actually what they want to do. So here's a scenario. It's a scenario that I've seen, you know, fairly recently, yeah? So the site is unmanned. It's got a basement switch room. The basement switch room is a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but it's, you know, switch rooms tend to get very messy, yeah? And that switch room is running the entire manufacturing plant. So that's critical to the customer's business, because if the switch room is out of action, so is the rest of the plant, yeah? So customers said yes to all our questions. So in our first scenario, where we've got bells and sounders and a couple of detectors, you know, the switch overheats, smoke escapes into the room, the smoke detector activates, stage 1 goes off, the bell sounds, the warning signs start to illuminate. After a while, the second detector goes off, places the releasing panel into second stage alarm, initiates the countdown, and the AF-X releases. Great, no problem at all, yeah? Yeah, okay. So that's the typical type of scenario that is expected and happens on site. Okay, so let's have a look. Do you want to detect the fire? Well, we did. Do you want to protect the employees? Well, I guess we did, yeah. And we can extinguish the fire, yeah. We didn't prevent the fire from happening, and it's arguable whether we minimize the damage caused by the fire. A small fire can put that customer out of action for 2-3 weeks. Yes, it's a switch. The switch is irrelevant. It's, you know, a few $100s worth of switch. But some of the downtime figures that customers quote to me run into tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour, because they can't produce the product that they're producing. One that was given to me some time ago was the downtime for a production line in Thailand making Ford trucks, $5 million an hour. And that $5 million an hour can be because a switch was burnt out unexpectedly that run a production line that stopped the production line. So just looking at those there, we've probably got a couple of crosses and some ticks. Okay, that's reasonable. You know, is that all we can expect? No. You know, we can do so much better, we really can. And I'll show you how, I really can. And not only can we do so much better, but I recently attended a commissioning of exactly that type of project. And the system integrator was handing the system over to the client. And this is exactly what he said. Okay, so when the bell sounds, you're in stage 1. This means you've got to investigate and see what detector zone is activated. And then if you get a sounder and a strobe and a bell, you should leave the building. No one's going to remember that. They're not going to remember it. They won't even remember. They'll hear a bell and think it's a fire alarm and leave the premises, yeah? So I think very confusing, and nobody understands. They're sitting there when everything goes off because they don't understand what phase of the fire they're actually in. So now our little schematic looks slightly different. Yes, our Kentech panels here. This panel, we're selling 400 or 500 of these a year. It's very, very popular. It needs absolutely no installation training. We'll give it to you, but it's very simple. It's a conventional panel. There is addressable panels and there are multi-zone panels, but for our little scenario, single zone, single area, multi-zone panel. And we've still got our smoke detector. That's great. Our LED signs are the same. You'll notice there's a disablement switch, which is always recommended, so that you can actually go there and work on the panel knowing that the AF-X is not going to go off, whatever you do, yeah? You've got an abort switch, which is sometimes called a hold switch. And technically speaking, for a UL system, it is a hold switch, yeah? It's not an abort switch. And there's usually some kind of manual release, as well as a manual release built into the panel. But what I've added in now is I've added in Firecracker. Well, those look nice, yeah? They have got strobes on the front of them, yeah? And I've added in an ASD, an aspirating smoke detection system, our Vesda. So that's even better, yeah? Not only have I added the Vesda in, but I've actually added in a GSM communicator, yeah? This will work anywhere. GSM, SMS communicator works in any region. You just put a SIM card in and it works, yeah? So we can actually integrate this system in a couple of minutes into a GSM communicator, yeah? So very, very simple to do. Okay, so here's our integration. Here's our Vesda. Vesda just is like your nose. Just imagine it's your nose. You're sitting in the switch room and suddenly, oh, what's that burning? Yeah, you can smell something. I'm sure you've all experienced that. Walked into a room where someone's been having a cigarette half an hour ago. You can still smell it. You can't see the smoke, but you can smell it. You know, someone burns the toast at home, and an hour later when you come in, what's burning? Yeah. Vesda's very, very sensitive smoke detector. Now, all of Vesda's are actually calibrated to what we call the background level of smoke. Okay, so the background level of smoke can vary, but it doesn't vary that much. And there are ways for us to be able to mitigate that varying within the Vesda. So let's take a look at our switch room. Let's assume our switch room is at, you know, the normal background level of smoke is 0.008%. It doesn't mean a lot. You know, I can explain what percentage obscuration means, but let's just call it 0.008%. So our fire detector, our smoke detector, won't actually go off until we get to about 3% of smoke. And that 3% has to be inside the standard spot detector. So what we can do with Vesda is we can say, right, the normal background is 0.008 or whatever it is. 10 times above there, we will actually have a relay that clicks over and says the smoke level has risen 10 times. 5 times above that, we'll have another signal to say that it's risen a little bit more. None of these signals are actually a fire, but they could be a fire starting, okay? So we'll integrate that into our project. And you can actually see here, this is where Vesda works. Here's our alert signal. When this smoke level has risen 10 times, 11 times, 12 times, whatever you want to set it as, above the normal operating background level of smoke, it will actually send an alert to the security guard, the maintenance manager, the owner, and anyone else. You know, multiple SMS goes out. And what it does is it actually brings people into this room. So you're bringing people to an area where in a few minutes, a few hours, or even a few days, you could end up with this scenario. If you don't, then all that's going to happen is you'll get to this scenario later on. So hang on a second, we can actually send somebody there the day before the fire occurs. Yes, you can. Has it ever happened? Yes, it has, yeah. In fact, that's what Vesda is for. You know, most people only ever link up Fire 1 Vesda. This is pointless. It's pointless. You're missing the point with Vesda. You're missing the point with an aspirating system. This is what it's designed to do. I go in there, I use my Vesda, my nose. What's that burning? I don't know. I'm the security guard. I'm just told to come down here and take a look. Yeah. So I'm having a look. I better call someone in. So at that point, you're bringing people to an area, experts that can say, yeah, you're right, I can smell something. You can use a thermal thermometer. Every switch that's in a switch room has an operating temperature. It doesn't vary. It's always the same. So they go around and they look at each of them, and one of these switches is now running at 15 degrees higher than it should be. They can take it down in a controlled manner. Simple, yeah? Okay, let's move on. We're now going to change our bells and strobes and sounders for fire criers, okay? So a fire crier is a full-blown voice evac system. But instead of having to pay $15,000, $20,000 for an evac system, you're spending, you know, under $100 for a, you know, a small voice sounder, which has exactly the same ability. We can actually send to these devices 7 different messages up the same pair of wires. You don't have to rewire. It's just 2 wires in and out on your NAC circuit, and we can broadcast different messages. So now we've got the ability to, obviously, there's a fire, you know, that's great. So throughout the building, we're using fire criers. Yes, there's a fire. But we could also program a second alert, which is actually manually triggered via the fire panel by simply saying, oh, there's a suspicious package in the lobby. We need to get everybody out, but we don't want them to panic. So I'm going to record this message and I'm going to send this message out. And that could be simply, you know, a security announcement, please leave by the most appropriate route, blah, blah, blah. Very simple. 7 different messages we can use. We've actually supplied huge evac systems and they only use 3 messages. And you're putting in thousands of dollars worth of equipment. For a few $100s, you can put in a system that will do the same. We've got very small fire criers, 90 dB. Larger fire criers for the standard commercial office areas, 100 dB. If you've got commercial areas where there is background noise or machinery, 110 dB. And if you've got, you know, large loading docks, 116 dB, which is extremely loud. I'll give you an idea of what it sounds like. So if we were in our scenario of our switch room, very simple, you know, we're going into first stage alarm. So that was the bell and the strobe, was it? Or the bell and the sounder? Or was it the sounder and the bell? I can't remember. But when the fire crier actually tells you to get out the room, you know, it's very simple, yeah? So this is just a recording, obviously.
First stage extinguishant release warning. First stage extinguishant release warning.
Oh, how simple. I know I'm in the first stage. Easy, yeah? So simple. So it switches to second stage and guess what? You know, there's a second stage release warning.
Second stage extinguishant release warning.
How simple is that? If I actually put the system on hold, you know, I'm standing there holding a button. I actually don't know whether it's on hold, you know. But if we can change the sounder, maybe that can tell us it's on hold.
Extinguishant gas release on hold.
Simple, yeah. So you get the point. There are thousands of different types of messages that can be broadcast. These are just some of the standard ones that we use. When a customer actually doesn't know, they go, yeah, we'll go for that. First stage, second stage, the extinguishant has been released, it's on hold, just a simple fire one. We have customers that actually want to broadcast through the fire system the fact that it's lunchtime. They can do that. There's no additional cost. It's the message is there. They can have a key switch, a switch, or a little soft button on their display of their fire panel. Send everyone off to lunch, and 5 minutes before it's time to come back, tell everyone to come back. So it's a very useful system. So now we put everything in place, yeah? So you can actually see, you know, here's the scenario now with a little bit of extra care taken to the design. Now we got a small amount of smoke that was coming out of one of the cabinets, yeah? So that's the same, that's great. That smoke will be sucked into the aspirating smoke detector pipe and it will trigger our alert. And that alert will go to the guard, the owner, the security personnel, the maintenance person. Everyone gets this alert. You could think of VESDA as, you know, most systems, when the fire alarm goes off, you're told to leave the building. When the VESDA system tells you there's an alert, you go to the building, yeah? Let's go and find out what's causing it, because you're arriving hours before the system's actually going to create a fire alarm. So that's good. So the same scenario now, guard, maintenance supervisor receive an SMS, you know, they go down into switch room 4 in the basement, hours before it, they can use the little thermal thermometer, find out which switch is running hot. This is the one, guys. Listen, no panic. Let's isolate the AF-X. Let's isolate the system. We don't want it going off, yeah? We don't want that to go off, yeah? What we actually want now is to get the maintenance guys in here, switch the load, take the switch out, clean it, put it back in or replace it. Couldn't get more simple. It really is. And what you're doing now with the addition of a few little devices is making it easier if the alarm does go off, but you're actually getting to a point where the alarm will actually not go off. There's no bells ringing, just an SMS bleeping on your phone. So you're actually protecting the customer's business continuity. Let's assume nobody responds, or they respond and can't find anything. Let's leave it. It doesn't matter. It's okay. We're so early in the fire cycle that we'll just leave it, yeah? Because when VESDA reaches action, we can send a more urgent message to the smart device or the mobile phone. Please go and check. Go down there and now check it, yeah? And here you can see action. So this is 10 times above the background. This could be 5 times above alert. And we're still, you know, hours before we get to this bit where, you know, the fire is actually going to occur. That's okay. That's a good scenario, yeah? So now when we go in and we use our inbuilt VESDA nose, we can smell something. And we do now take it seriously, yeah? So that's good. If it's a totally unmanned site and nobody's reached there in time, then of course, VESDA will reach fire 2. Shortly afterwards, the point detector will activate, or the heat detector, or whatever second zone you have. And what it will actually do is it will release the extinguishant into the room and put the fire out, yeah? But that's not what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve a point where that doesn't happen, yeah? So a lot of people say, can we use different languages for Firecracker? Yes, you can, yeah? So we can record any message. There is limits to what the message can you don't want a 20-second long message. So it's generally kept to a short thing. And generally speaking, it's in dual language. So it's in language of the country plus English, yeah? Or it could be just in the language of the country or just English, yeah? Okay, so that's good. So, you know, this design here is designed to protect the business continuity of the customer so that we can tick that last box. Yeah, we've said everything. We can do it all. We can do it all. We can even, if the customer wants it, we can even send you, we can even integrate into a CCTV camera and send you an email, not just an SMS. We can send an SMS, an email, and even a CCTV picture so you can actually see what's happening in the room, you know, and all you'll see is a little bit of background smoke that's triggered the VESDA, if that. So, you know, we can do that integration. And this guard here can actually just say, oh, I see. And he can actually see on his smartphone within a few seconds of that VESDA actually telling him, so VESDA basement 4, here's the alert, I can have a look. Okay, I better get down there. There's no fire at the moment, great. So we can go down there and follow the procedure that the customer has in place. Okay, so I'm going to return to my little screen earlier on of what is the best type of suppression system, yeah? And you'll all know the answer to this, yeah? It's one that never actually needs to be used, yeah? So we put all these systems in, and there's a system after the suppression system, which is called insurance, yeah? But we spoke about insurance at the beginning. Insurance is fine, you know, I've got all my stock. I've got my $1 million worth of stock, you know, that was paid 6 months later than the fire. Now I've got the money, I can rebuild another warehouse. But by the time your warehouse or your production facility is up and running, your business is gone because all your customers have moved on. Same for us, you know, we've got a warehouse full of equipment. Yeah, it's protected by VESDA. It links to me. You know, I can come and actually have a look, and I can alert the building security to come in and have a look. But if we lost it, you know, we'd be struggling because our products are there. We can't get products tomorrow. You know, the insurance will pay up, but probably 4 or 5 months down the line. So yes, it's a little bit of a flippant answer, but you know, the answer of what the best suppression system is one that's never actually needs to be used. Yeah. There's a little video here showing you how effective. So I think you'll agree that was very effective, yeah. A few seconds, the fire's out, it will not rekindle and can be vented very easily. There are hundreds of applications, there really is. There's not one size fits all, not one product can do everything. So aerosol is usually the smaller switchgear type applications, the marine applications, the lithium ion battery storage applications, the small switch rooms, that's fine for aerosol. Clean agent gases are usually more suitable for critical server applications, yeah? But we definitely have probably maybe 60 or 70% of the market is suitable for different applications, yeah. So either it's source or total flooding, or both in the same area, that's okay. You can see there's many applications, cable tunnels, passenger tunnels, car tunnels, all areas where AF-X can be used. This is one extremely well-used application. There's two areas within the wind generator. At the top, which is the generation part, and at the bottom, which is the switchgear part, yeah? So they all need to be protected by aerosol. You're probably not going to put a gas system in. It's a very, very small area, yeah? Offshore applications, no problem. We're probably going to use nano because of the corrosive components in sea air. Storage and warehousing, that's great. Even document stores, very, very easy to protect with them, yeah? This is one that is exceptionally being used at the moment. There is a shortage of power generation in most countries. So where a customer is expanding their business, they're probably going to bring in something like a genset, which is a 40-foot container with a generator in. And that generator needs to be protected because it becomes a key part of the customer's infrastructure. And, you know, vessels, marine vessels, people always ask me with marine vessels, do you have IMO certification? No, we don't. At the moment, AF-X does not have IMO certification, but IMO certification is only for vessels that are over 24 meters. So leisure craft, engine room compartment, you don't need IMO certification. So we don't have it yet. And there is a new UL certification for aerosols on vessels coming out in the next 6 to 8 months. So then AF-X will apply for that because it's specifically for marine vessels, yeah. So we can do marine vessels, we do marine vessels, and if it's under 24 meters, no certification. And if it's in a very small area, under 68 square meters, then you don't need it anyhow. So there's a lot of little regulations there that you can get away with the fact that you don't need it, okay? So again, our summary is integration is the key. This is what you should be fitting, you know. These are all very, very, very easy to fit, very cost effective, they really are. So, you know, we're here to help you design these. We're here to show you exactly what components you actually do need. This little component here I didn't explain, but what happens with aerosols is they tend to put quite a large load for a very small amount of time onto the panel. So instead of putting all 5 of these directly onto the panel, we have this sequential switcher, which basically is programmed so that when the trigger is coming from the panel, the load is only on one of these at any one time. So over the space of a couple of seconds, you'll get 1 trigger, 2 trigger, 3 trigger, 4 trigger, 5 trigger. So they're all triggered simultaneously. But the load was only put on the panel from one of them at any one time. All of the aerosols work the same. They all need some sequential switcher. AF-X just happened to manufacture their own. Hochiki manufacture one. So it depends on what you're fitting. It depends on what you actually install, yeah. Okay, so the addition of a few integrated components into a standard releasing system, you've got a best possible chance of preventing a fire from ever occurring, yeah? And the cost, it's marginally above what you would cost to install the standard system anyhow. And when people actually say to me, well, what's the cost? Listen, the cost of a fire is going to be greater. So the cost of putting this system in is far, far less than actually having a fire in the first place. I know it's a strange answer, but it's true, yeah? So I think in retrospect now, you need to just have a look at those. I will make this presentation available for you to be able to download. So I've recorded it. And I think, you know, we can leave it on that note there that, you know, whatever the cost, it's cheaper than a fire. Yeah? So thanks for listening. I'm not sure if anyone's sent through any chat messages there, Tony, but if there is any questions, if you want to ask the question, I'll do my best to answer it, or you can email me. Very easy to get a hold of us here. So you can email me or you can chat and send me through a chat message now, yeah?
Okay, so if no one's got any questions, thanks, John. So what we're going to do is we're going to send out an email which will have a link to the presentation, but also give you the opportunity to request any further information or additional training that you may require. But in the meantime, has anyone got any?
I have a chat. I have a chat message. Let's have a look, yeah? So,
Raymond.
Oh, it's Raymond. Can you now ship AF-X overseas? I can tell which part of the presentation you joined, Raymond. Yeah. Yes, you can. So just to read, so we have a question here, which I think everyone can see. So yes, you can. You can ship it. There's two types. Carbon is non-dangerous goods, so anyone can ship it. Nano, if it's for that lithium battery or marine application, is dangerous goods. If you was to ship it from here to the Philippines, then you would need to have a DG certificate or a company to handle it for you if it was nano. If it's based around the carbon, no need. Anyone can ship carbon. We've done it already. We've sent it to the Philippines. We've sent it to Vietnam. Solomon, is there an EX-proof version for AF-X? Not at the moment. No, there isn't. Yeah. So I know there is an EX-proof version of other products, but at the moment there's no there's no explosion-proof version for AF-X. Yeah. So I hope that answers that. Any more questions while you have the chance? Tap away on the chat. It's very easy. So. Okay, so the main difference is what we find. We're also, if you notice on our opening slide, we're also a StatX dealer. Yeah. Okay, so we have access to StatX. Now, StatX are extremely territorial. Yeah, so we are the StatX dealer for Singapore and for Indonesia. So the reason why we've gone and looked for another product is we can't sell StatX anywhere else other than into Singapore or Indonesia, yeah? So there are some main differences. If you do the calculations for StatX and AF-X, AF-X generally can cover larger areas than StatX, yeah? So I would say that is probably the main difference, is in the size that you can cover. Now, what that means is that it's actually more cost effective per generator to install an AF-X into a larger area than it is for StatX. Extremely small area. StatX do an extremely small generator. We've never actually sold a small one. Most systems are, you know, a fair-sized switch or a room. So where we've done the comparisons between the two, AF-X is far cheaper, up to 50%, I think you saw on my slide. That 50% was in direct relationship to StatX, yeah. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah, it's more cost effective for, you know, large switches, larger rooms, yeah. Firecracker, there is no EX-proof version of the Firecracker either at the moment, yeah. Most switch rooms are not explosion-proof, so, but I do understand why. We do have explosion-proof sounders, and we do have explosion-proof sounders and beacons. So if you need to put a sounder beacon, which we did 2 weeks ago, we quoted a sounder beacon into a switch room. So we would pick out one of the Vimpex products, one of their products, yeah. Lifespan of AF-X generators is what they call the shelf life. So the life in which it can be successfully used at the moment is 10 years, and that will go to 15 years in line with the StatX, 15 years. So we should be able to leave these systems in place for 15 years. Now, the duration of maintenance, you're not really doing any maintenance on the AF-X. The reason for that is I mentioned in the presentation that all of the aerosol systems, they just sit there, yeah. They shouldn't deteriorate over that lifespan of 10 to 15 years. However, what does happen is if someone's in there and they're poking, you know, the membrane at the front and they puncture the membrane, what can happen is moisture can enter it. the resistance of that, circuit goes up, creates a fault on your fire panel, and you know there's a problem. That's about the only type of issue I can imagine. When you do maintenance, what you do is you can check the resistance to make sure it's the same as it was when it was actually installed. And then you can unplug, so you can literally unplug the AF-X, just unplug it, yeah? If you unplug it, it's going to create a problem because the panel will think that there's a fault. So what you do is you simply plug in, I've got one here, I'm not sure whether you can see this, but we've got all these components. You can plug in the test lamp. When you plug the test lamp in, it has the same resistance as the generator. So everything goes back to normal. And then you can do a complete test. You can test your SMS signal. You can test your fire signal. You can test, you know, which actually activates at what time. And you can actually activate it. And instead of the AF-X generators going off, what you can see is all the little lights will come on. So wherever there was a generator, you've got a test lamp. The test lamp lights up. So you have successfully then shown the customer that A, the resistance of the AF-X generators are the same as when we installed them, and B, the trigger circuit, the detectors are all working. We haven't just sprayed a bit of smoke into a detector and go, oh, look, it's working. We've actually gone through the whole cycle. Where's my SMS? Well, it will come along when the smoke goes into the vest. Oh, yes, there it is, yeah. So you can do a complete maintenance thing. Maintenance cycle is just fitted in with your normal maintenance. So some countries it's every 6 months, and some countries it's every 12 months, and nearly all customers expect it to be every 10 years, yeah? So you've got to really try and sell that maintenance contracts from day one. You know, a lot of customers get confused with maintenance and warranty. It's got no connection whatsoever. Of course, the warranty on the products is 2 years, yeah? In some cases, it's 3 years for Kentech products, yeah? But the warranty has got nothing to do with the actual maintenance. The maintenance should be done on a maintenance contract, even during the warranty, because the warranty is not going to cover for someone coming and jabbing something in the front or cutting a cable. So I think, you know, 6 months to 12 months, at least every 12 months, you should be doing a full trigger of the system to make sure that those test lamps all light up, that the fire criers actually do work, yeah, and send out the signals at the right time, and just basically to make sure the system is working every 12-month period, yeah. So any more questions? Please feel free to send through any questions at all. It's
Alan, I question.
Yes.
Yeah, for explain when the panel releasing file. Can the expired block be released manual itself?
Sorry.
And what temperature for without manual self release? Please explain.
Yeah. So your question is what is the process for a manual release? Yeah.
Yeah. On when the panel is releasing file.
Yep. Well, a manual release just overrides the automatic system that you've put in place. So if you see a fire and you can, I don't know whether you can see one behind me, but if I pull this down now and press it, it will go into manual release. So it will go to my 30-second countdown. Yeah. So you can program a 30-second countdown for manual release, which is normal. So your fire criers will tell you that you've got to leave the room, and 30 seconds later, your AF-X will release. So manual release is generally the same as the stage 2 alarm, yeah? So you've had 2 coincidences, it will release after 30 seconds. With a UL system, you can hold the system, but you can't abort it.
Yeah.
But with the addition of a maintenance switch, what we say to customers, you can abort it, yeah? So we have a hold switch. So just for everyone who's on the call, you have an abort switch, which is usually adjacent to the panel, yeah? You also have a maintenance switch, which is adjacent to the panel and is key operated. So if I abort a stage 2. You can't abort a stage 1 alarm because there's no point. But if it's in stage 2 and it's counting down, yeah, with a UL, if I press the button to abort it, it will hold the countdown at 10 seconds forever while I've got my finger pressed on the abort switch. Now, if you actually know what has caused the alarm to go off and you don't want the AF-X to actually generate or extinguish, what you can do, put the key into the maintenance switch and actually turn the maintenance switch so that it's isolated the detector, isolated the AF-X. If you release the abort switch then, the panel will still count down. It will tell you that it's actually released, but it hasn't actually released because you've got the maintenance switch. If it's an EN panel, you can actually abort a stage 2 alarm. So you can press the abort, at which time you can reset it and reset the whole system. So there's a little bit of difference in programming and firmware for a UL and an EN panel. So it all depends on, you know, your customer, what they want. If it's an, you know, a European customer, they probably want EN. If it's an American customer, they probably want UL. And we provide both of them. The panel you can see behind me is obviously a UL. It's red. So, you know, we also provide the EN version as well. So, you know, manual releases if you know the cause or you've caused it. Maybe you've caused a fire and you run outside, or you push the button, or you bring the manual call point down. And after your countdown timer, it will actually extinguish the fire. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Okay.
Any more questions from anyone? We still have 47 people on the call, so I really appreciate your time, guys. I really do. It's really nice to be able to present something. And you know, a lot of the slides that you've actually seen, everyone goes, but the customer won't pay for that. You know, that's a typical reaction. Yeah, the customer won't pay. The only reason the customer doesn't pay is because no one's offering it. You know, isn't it nice to be able to take some of these slides, and the next time you go in to see a customer, or the next time a customer actually phones up and goes, oh, you guys do fire systems, can you come and talk to me? Ask the customer, you know, ask him what his downtime figure is. Every customer has a downtime figure, you know, and that figure is in dollars, yeah? So if it's in dollars, they're actually telling you how much a fire will cost them. So the questions you ask them will depend on the answers that you get back. So, you know, people will pay for this system. People do pay for this system, you know. We sell the integration to cameras. It's so simple, you know. Those interconnected systems are actually perfect for customers, but they don't know about them, you know. So I would urge everybody that's on the call is just think a little bit more, you know. Yes, you're competing against all the other customers and all the other system integrators for the same business, yeah. So don't you think the customer's going to have a little bit more, you know, a little bit more knowledge if you explain to him what are the options? You know, do you want to stop a fire? Do you want to prevent a fire? Do you just want to let the fire happen and we'll put it out? It all hinges on how much that fire will technically cost the person, yeah. And if you ask them, you know, what is your downtime figure? You'll be shocked. You'll be absolutely shocked. You know, it's not just a case of we've got to get insurance, therefore we need a fire system. That insurance company will actually give them a reduction in their premium if they put a system in that technically will prevent a fire. So that's what we're all about. You know, we don't force people, but we say to people, are you aware these systems exist? And they exist and people fit them. What they don't do is integrate them together. I think, you know, that's the whole purpose of this presentation, was to, you know, to replace simple bells with sounders that can actually tell you what's happening, yeah? And to be able to instead of waiting for the fire, a couple of hours ago, you know, you can actually go there and see what the fire is causing the fire in the first place, yeah? What is it in the incipient stage? A couple more questions. Net, yes, I can send you the presentation. I'm going to send you the actual, the whole thing, yeah? And do we have a drawing of how to install Firecracker? Yes. Imagine it's a bell. You take the bell off the wall and throw it away and put the Firecracker there. Just 2 wires. That's all it is, yeah. I know that's a bit of a flippant answer. There is a few switches, volume switches and different messages, but I'll send out that information to you as well. So that's, in fact, what I'll do is just take a screenshot of that, yeah.
I've got that detail, John.
So we have got drawings and manuals for the Firecrackers, and there are different Firecrackers. There's actually a very, very cost-effective one that has one message, and that message is, you know, please leave the building. That's all it is. Please leave the building. You can have any one of the one messages, but it's just one message. If you want the Firecracker Plus, it's got 7 messages, yeah? And you can use those messages to the best ability that the customer is actually wants, yeah? So it can be 7 messages of anything you want, yeah? So fire-related, security-related, you know. What we do find is that, you know, in a large building, you know, you have a fire test. We have one here every 3-4 months. I don't know how often, yeah. So what we do is a week before, someone comes and gives us a little A4 sheet telling us there's nobody reads it, yeah, usual. But you need to be able to inform everyone there's a fire test. So one of your messages can be, this is a fire test. Please take no further action. And they broadcast that for about 5 minutes and everyone goes, oh, it's okay, it's a test. Then they do the test, yeah? So the test is fire emergency, please leave the building, yeah? And a couple of minutes after, guess what? They broadcast a 3rd message, which is the fire test has now concluded. That's it. So you don't need to go around and tell everyone there's going to be a fire test. You can broadcast it, you know? You could broadcast a message saying there will be a fire test in 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. And you're not paying thousands upon thousands of dollars to put in a networked full system to broadcast a couple of messages, yeah? You're putting in a nice little system that is very cost effective. So, okay, so I think I've finished speaking now. If there's any more questions, if not, I shall thank everyone once again. It really is appreciated. I can't believe, you know, we've had up to 60 people on the call. And, you know, time is precious. You've all given me some of your time. So if you want me to give you some design or some one-to-one presentations on any of these products, please let me know. And everybody, please take care. You know, we've all got to wear masks. We've all got to, you know, get our jabs, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other face to face in the near future. And you know, thanks very much, everyone. Thank you. So, okay, so I shall stop my sharing now, and I shall end it. And just many thanks,
Mr. John.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, John.
Thank you,
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
For the Thank you.
Good to see everyone wearing their masks.
Yes, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Sorry.